Voltorb Flip, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. In Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the only way I found to get the TMs for Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Flamethrower, some of the strongest and yet most basic attacks for those elements, is at the Celadon Game Corner. You have to buy them with Celadon Game Corner coins, and they cost 10,000 coins each, which is a lot of money. And the only way to get those coins is to play the game Voltorb Flip. Unlike previous games, there's no one you can go to just buy the coins for an exorbitant amount of Poke Yen, or whatever the Pokemon money is called. And so I was playing the game, the Voltorb Flip game, and as you win consecutive games, you go up in level. And the higher your level of Voltorb Flip, the more coins you earn per game. And sometimes when I would lose a game, I noticed that I would drop in level, but other times I wouldn't. So if I was like at level 5, sometimes I'd lose and I'd stay at level 5. But sometimes I'd lose and I'd drop down to level 3, and sometimes I'd even drop all the way down to level 1. And I couldn't figure out why. And so I went online, I did a Google search for Voltorb Flip, and I was trying to find the answer. And what I found instead was a bunch of people who were leaving comments on message boards and like Yahoo Answers and stuff, asking about how you play this game, because it seemed like all you could do was just, luck into winning. So I decided I'd make a video to explain how. The basics of the game. You have a 5x5 play area with 25 cards. Each of these cards will have either a 1, 2, 3, or Voltorb on the bottom. I shouldn't say either, because it'll either have a number or a Voltorb. Voltorbs are bad. If you flip over a Voltorb, it's like a 0, and it gives you a game over. Also on the playing field, at the end of each row and at the bottom of each column, there are 2 hints. Each hint is a number. The first number tells you the sum of the number cards in that row or column, and the second number tells you the number of Voltorb cards in that row or column. And those are awesome. So here's an example play area, and this game is on my DS right now. I just booted it up, I went to Celadon, and this is the game that I got. This is a level 1 game. They're very easy to solve. Alright, so these blue numbers are the sum of the number cards, like in this row, and then the zeros and the red numbers are the number of Voltorb cards in each column and row. What are the rules of the game? The goal of the game is to flip over all the 2 and 3 cards without flipping over any Voltorbs. Voltorbs are bad, they end the game. 1s are pointless, they don't really do anything. So, you want to flip over all the 2s and 3s. Once you have, the game will automatically end. It'll give you all the coins that you earned for that game, and then it'll advance you to the next level. Why do we play Voltorb Flip? We flip over the 2s and 3s because they multiply our coin total for the game. And then we cash out. We either quit the game early. You can quit at any time during the game. And sometimes if you have if you've got a nice stack of coins waiting for you, sometimes it's okay to just quit. And so when you quit or when you win, you cash out your coins. Those coins are yours. Once you've cashed out coins, you can't lose them. So once you've gotten into the higher levels, you can cash out your coins and those coins are there, and there's no penalty at all for losing the next time you play. And we want to get to the higher levels because higher levels give you more coins. Now those are the basic rules. What are the actual rules here? The first number card you flip determines how many coins you start with. But it really doesn't matter what card you flip at first because it's a multiplier. All the other cards are just multipliers, and it doesn't matter what order you multiply the numbers in, they always multiply to equal the same product. So don't stress over flipping over 2s and 3s to begin, and don't stress over whether you need to flip a 2 or a 3 to get a higher total. Mathematically, it's always going to be the same total. There's a set total once the game starts, so it doesn't matter. And if you lose, this is the rule that I was trying to figure out, and I did test and find out. If you lose while playing a game above level 1, you have to flip over number cards equal to that level to stay at that level. If you flip over, like if I'm playing at level 4, once I flipped over 4 number cards, whether they're 1s, 2s, or 3s, then if I lose, I stay at level 4. If I flip over less than 4 cards, I start at that level. So if I flip over only 3 and I lose, then I go back to level 3. If I flip over 2 and lose, I go back to level 2. If I flip over 1 or even no number cards, and I got real unlucky and got a Voltorb as my first card, I go all the way back to level 1 and have to work my way back up. But here's what we're here for. How to solve Voltorb Flip. Go ahead and read this for yourself because this is pointless. Let's just get to step 1. Flip all the cards in any rows or column with 0 Voltorbs. Why? Because there's no Voltorbs, so there's really no reason not to flip them. It gives you the most information possible, and just revealing those cards makes sure that if you're at a higher level, you're not going to fall back in levels. So here's that exact same example, and I flipped over all of the numbers, all of the rows with 0 Voltorbs. And that's what we got. So then we move on to step 2. What I do is, as you read on one of those earlier ones, if you pause the video, anytime I know that there's a card that's got to be either a Voltorb or a 1, I just put a Voltorb mark on it using the memo function because I don't care about 1s and I don't care about Voltorbs. And I'm not going to try and flip over a 1 to maintain level if there's a chance it's going to be a Voltorb. That would be counterproductive. So here, oh, I'm not sure if I mentioned, yeah, mark off the rows where the hint numbers add up to 5. So anytime your hints are like a 4 and 1 or a 0 and a 5 or a 2 and a 3, they only contain Voltorbs and 1s. It's mathematically that has to be true. So here we have a 4 and a 1, that's a 5, so this entire column is off limits. And here is a 4 and a 1, that's 5, so this entire column is off limits. Each of these cards right here that are marked have to be either a Voltorb or a 1, so I don't even want to take a chance on them. Step 3. Use any revealed cards you have to determine if there are any dead rows. Dead rows are those containing unflipped Voltorbs and 1s. Just like if the hints add up to 5, the entire row is dead. Once you've started revealing cards, you can figure out if rows then become dead. So, here, seeing this 3, I know that this 5-2 row is dead. Why? Well, let's just pretend that this box is a Voltorb and this box is a Voltorb. Since these 3 cards have to add up to 5, and I know that this card is a 3, then this is a 1 and this is a 1. So, other than this 3, every card in this row is a 1 or a Voltorb. So this row is dead, and I just mark them off because it's pointless. Step 4. Flip the best card to reveal the next number. If you can deduce that a card must be a 2 or a 3, then you should flip it. If you can't, then flip the card that is most likely to be a number because it is least likely to be a Voltorb. In this case, this 2 and this 2 are both have to be's. We know that they have to be 2s. If you go back here, you can see that these 2 boxes are blank. And let's just go with this row, 5-1. We know that these are either 1s or Voltorbs. And since we know this is a 1, if you just do a little math, this is for sure a Voltorb. We know that because of this 3-3. So this has to be a 1, this has to be a 1. 1, 1, 1, that's 3, and I need a 2 left over to get a 5. And that's what we find here, a 2. And the exact same logic leads us to this 4-3 having a 2. Now, the example in this one, I solved it, so I get 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 is 24 coins. And like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter what order you solve it in, they all add up, they all multiply to 24. Now, going back to if you cannot deduce that a card must be a 2 or 3, flip the most likely number because it's least likely a Voltorb. The 2 basic rules for that. The best choice is the intersection of 2 rows with only 1 Voltorb card. Since you have 2 rows where there's only 1 Voltorb in each row, the only way that that card you flip is a Voltorb is if both of those rows is a Voltorb right there. Simple probability. And also, given a choice between like a 6-1 and an 8-1, countering a 6-1, Go with the 8-1 because you know that the 8-1 has to have higher number cards there, so you're more likely to uncover a 2 or 3 that way. And here's just another example. This was the very next game on Voltorb Flip. This is what I started with. I canceled out all the rows and columns that added up to 5. And then I had to guess. And here I have an 8-1 with two different 6-1 columns. So I just picked one, found a 3, and then it's simple solving to figure that out. And that's, I mean, I just flip those over. Just apply the rules, use a little bit of logic, and you'll find out that that's what has to be. And I think that's the last slide. Yep. So that's how you figure out this Voltorb flip. Just apply a little bit of logic and a couple rules, and even just kind of blindly following the rules. You should earn some coins if you spend some time at it. Bye bye.